Welcome back to Above the Break. This is episode 7. It is December 23rd, so we have a lot of NBA games tonight and then a day off tomorrow, and then the Christmas slate, which is a good time in the NBA, more so for drama than for the actual games, because we got some nice games over the next few days, but a lot of trade drama potentially on the horizon soon, and a lot of developments in the NBA over the last couple of weeks to discuss. I'm back with my co-host, Bobby Stanley. Bobby, how are we doing?
Living the dream, man. Getting ready for Christmas. I have to put together a kids' jungle gym indoor set tonight and finish up wrapping some presents for my wife. So full-on dad mode.
So, I mean, I think we live like exactly the opposite lives when it comes to Christmas time. Because you are like strictly being a real human being, and I am strictly like in the lab for NBA. And the fact that we have like a day off tomorrow for the NBA and NFL gives me a chance to really, really dive into all the games on Thursday onward. Make edits to my NFL model, all that good stuff. So tomorrow's like the day that I won't be interacting with any human beings, so that I can interact with my human beings, later on in the week. But it's great that we get to talk some basketball today. And but I just wanted to bring up one thing. Last week we yapped so much about the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander thing. I feel like we got absolutely nowhere with it. So today the goal is, if we got agendas to push, I don't know if I have any agendas to push today. I came prepared with some stuff, but if we have any agendas to push, we're going to keep it quick and we're going to keep it aggressive, and we're not going to give each other a chance to yap. So that's the goal for today. One way to do this is, I have trivia for you, okay? So I have 10 NBA players. It is December 23rd, 2025. All 10 players are grouped together, but one player does not belong. You have to guess which player doesn't belong and why they don't belong. You have 3 yes-no questions to figure out who the imposter is. And again, this is based off as of this season. And if you get it right to win the game, you got to tell me why they don't belong. I'll put the players up on the screen and read them out before you start. Mm-hmm. So we got today Derek Queen, Stephon Castle, Victor Wembanyama, Jaylen Brown, Deni Avdija, Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Nick Claxton, Trenton Watford, and Alperen Sengun. One of these players does not belong.
Okay, and I get 3 yes or no questions.
Yes, so you get 3 yes or no questions, so to eliminate players, and then after the 3 yes no questions, you get to make your one and only guess.
Okay. Is it tied to usage?
Well, okay, I'll help you. So the yes no questions, the point of it is for you to like eliminate players so you can get to the like who it is.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So that's step 1, and then once you get the player, then you get to figure out why.
Okay. Is it Julius Randle?
No. Why did you go for the kill like that? I have no idea. What?
Wait, no. So you're saying I have to eliminate 3 guys, right?
No. You could like you could say like, is the player in the Western Conference, and then.
Okay. All right. Is the player in the Western Conference?
Yes, the player is in the Western Conference. I'll count that as question 1.
Okay, thank you, because now I'm getting a little bit. Let me just eliminate some people. Not that many. Is the player? Does the player have red in his jersey?
The player does not have red as a color in one of their jerseys.
Okay,
that's a big one for you.
And this is my 3rd question.
Yep.
I should keep going with the color game. It's going to help me immensely. Does the player on this list that's remaining have his teammate on there?
Yes, the player that is remaining has a teammate that's among the 10.
Okay, so I got it down to Stephon Castle, Victor Wembanyama, Anthony Edwards, and Julius Randle.
You could try to big brain this, figure out what agenda I could possibly have, and you could go for the kill. It would be really impressive if you got it, 1 in 4 chance.
So I have to guess who it is now based on these 4, and then why.
Yeah. So first, just take a stab. Who is it that doesn't belong?
It is. You like to come up with tricky shit. It's Victor Wembanyama.
It is not Victor Wembanyama. The player that does not belong today in this list is Anthony Edwards. Now that I've told you that Anthony Edwards is the only player on this list that does not belong, can you take a stab at what it is that he has not done this season that the other 9 have done? There's your hint.
Okay. Had 30 and a win? I don't know. That's a good one. What has he not done? Double-double?
Oh, you're so close, basically. You almost have it. So Anthony Edwards is the only player in this list without a triple-double this season.
Triple-double.
He also does not have a triple-double in his career. So it's kind of a crazy list. Like, just thinking about the modern NBA, like how much easier it's gotten to get a triple-double just with the pace and stuff. Trent Watford, my favorite one on the list, because I picked him up in fantasy the morning that he got that triple-double. That was fun. Nick Claxton got a triple-double in a game that we bet Nets plus 15.5 when they won outright in Boston. That was fun. So a couple memorable triple-doubles on this list. Obviously, Derek Queen, had to put him on the list there. Yeah, I mean, Anthony Edwards does not have a triple-double in his career. Felt like a good transition to talk about the Timberwolves in general this year. Mm-hmm. Anthony Edwards, like last year, there was a loss. I forget against who it was, but they lost the game. He had a couple of turnovers in the clutch, and he said after the game that, like, this team, they want me to play make, and I keep seeing like double teams and blitzes or whatnot, and it's hard to get in a groove when I'm getting blitzed. And he was kind of just basically complaining about the fact that he has to play make, but like he feels like he's a scorer. And I feel like that transitions pretty nicely into why the Timberwolves have had like this up and down sort of season. There's been games where they look incredible. They've just beat OKC on the road. And there's been games where they've looked quite bad, especially in the clutch. They've blown leads. And Anthony Edwards in general just having a tougher time than he normally does in the clutch because the league is adjusting to him. And the fact that the only true point guard on this team is Mike Conley, and his playing time has been spotty, right? Like, we can agree Dante DiVincenzo more of a shooting guard than a point guard. Mm-hmm. There's the Bones Highland drama. There's the Rob Dillingham drama. So what's your view so far this season on the Timberwolves? Like, even if they target a point guard at the trade deadline, who can they target? And is there a route to seeing them in tier 1 of contention?
I guess the only way that they get to tier 1 of contention, and the point guard you're probably alluding to would be Darius Garland. If there's the move that you justify moving Julius Randle, I actually don't think Julius Randle's the piece I want if I'm another GM. I want Jaden McDaniels. So if you're the Timberwolves and you're like, we got to get to where we want to go, to get that piece, it may take Jaden McDaniels and picks. I personally wouldn't want Julius Randle. But could you get Garland? Because that's kind of the rumblings this week. He doesn't want to be Donovan Mitchell's shadow anymore. And there'll be teams knocking at their door for Darius Garland. I mean, he's had a really weird career. But for Minnesota, they're 8-2 over their last 10. So if you're going to sell on Julius Randle, you sell now. You sell it as high as it's going to look. And then, but, Cleveland wouldn't want Julius Randle. I don't think that does anything for them. I kind of made a list. We were talking about trade rumors. Instead of doing players in my head, I went, who are buyers and who are sellers? And I have the Minnesota Timberwolves as buyers. I have them someone making a move to ascend to that top 4 in the West. But it's whether or not they're going to figure out, are they going to move Jaden McDaniels to do it?
Yeah, I mean, first off, like, I feel like the Timberwolves, as well as like a couple of those teams in like the tier 2.5, so to speak, like, it's weird to say, but the Cavs are not in tier 1 right now. Like, you could argue they're not even in tier 2 because this roster, like Lonzo Ball is not what I expected. He's lost like every like little bit of a step he's had. I kind of yapped about this last episode as well, but you brought up Darius Garland. Like he just objectively hasn't been good when he has played, and then he's also not been available. Julius Randle kind of like fits in my head as someone that could be used as like trade bait to go from one not tier 1 or tier 2 team to another not tier 1 or tier 2 team. And it's kind of a shame because Randall's played well in the playoffs. Like he played well last year in the playoffs. And he has been pretty efficient given the circumstances this year, right? With the no point guard, he has been one of the better isolation scorers in the NBA by points per possession for a majority of this season. So he's played well since last year. I think his Timberwolves stint has made me earn a lot of respect for him. But at the same time, like you said, like the Cavs don't gain anything by swapping Darius Garland for Julius Randle.
I think there's going to be a lot of teams interested in making moves, but the fits are going to be really tough, especially with the second apron. And then Giannis being the big trade, that's what you may be gearing up for in the summer. So do you make a move now and kind of punt on that idea? LaMelo Ball, is that a guy that we could see next to Anthony Edwards? Does Julius Randle, does Charlotte make sense? I mean, I have Miles Bridges, which is kind of similar to that Julius Randle piece, but like, does Charlotte just collect talent and go, okay, we got Khan, we got Brandon Miller, and then everything else is up for it's a fire sale. If you want LaMelo, if you want Miles Bridges, and then we're just going to build around these two guys. If you want Julius Randle, do they just collect the asset and get off of the LaMelo business, and that's good enough for the rest of this year? I don't know.
Yes, and a million times yes if I'm the Hornets, because I've advertised this, but I don't think LaMelo Ball is a serious basketball player. Like, incredible talent. Like, I root for the Ball family just because, like, I was a Lonzo fan in college, and, like, LaMelo's a likable guy off court, right? Like, I root for the brothers, right? And maybe I'm not a fan of Tweaker by LiAngelo, but that aside, I root for the Ball family. But at the end of the day, like, this guy is so unserious, and he hasn't been healthy enough to prove to anybody that like he can be available for a full playoff run and match the physicality of a playoff run, let alone produce in the playoffs. I mean, I posted a clip of LaMelo turning it over last night, which kind of sums up how I feel about him, right? He was on a heater. He was feeling himself, hit a couple of threes. He steals a rebound from Mason Plumlee, and almost hit Mason Plumlee in the face, and immediately like sprints up the court and throws the ball into the fifth row, right? That to me is like the summary of LaMelo Ball. Like, the highs are like great for the regular season. The lows are just they play you out of games, right? So if I'm the Hornets, I'm really happy with Con Knippel. Broke the record for fastest to 100 threes in a game, which, by the way, like might end up being one of the more unbreakable records in this league. He took 29 games to do it. The previous record was 41. Wow. Con Knippel is a star. Brandon Miller, I think we both agree, is really good at basketball if he can stay healthy.
I agree.
And you kind of like Ryan Kalkbrenner too. We talked about him.
I do. I've won a decent amount of money on Ryan Kalkbrenner just that's early on in the season. So I like the nucleus and kind of what the new direction they're going, but they got to double down and commit to it. We both agree LaMelo's not serious. So that begs the question, if I'm the Minnesota Timberwolves and I'm trying to maximize Anthony Edwards' prime, I'm going to do it by bringing in an unserious player who's going to take the ball out of his hands? No. So I think it makes sense I think Charlotte punting on LaMelo Ball makes sense every which way. It's who's going to roll the dice and take a chance on him on the cheap. Because you'll probably get him cheaper than you think. His trade package isn't going to be what you would think of an all-star.
Which transitions into the main segment of our show. Let's talk about trade rumor players, sell or hold. We agree, LaMelo Ball, you got to find a way to sell him if you're the Hornets. Let's talk about a similar player just real quick. We've talked so much about Jalen Johnson. We've talked about the good and the bad. Yep. Trae Young, are we finding a way to sell on him now? Are we waiting to see what he can give us as, if we're the Hawks? Are we waiting to see what he can give us the rest of the season? Or are we holding and playing out whatever the hell this contract looks like?
I think they hold for the rest of the season. And because you're not going to sell him now coming off the injury where he doesn't look as valuable to the Hawks. So teams know that. and they would simply take advantage of that. I would play out the rest of the season. Let Jalen Johnson get his most improved player trophy. Let's hope. You have Reese Shea, and maybe you make a run at Giannis. I think we all agree Atlanta and San Antonio are the two teams that can make a run at Giannis. They have the New Orleans Pelicans unprotected. So I wouldn't rush the trade deal if Giannis could still be at the end of that tunnel. And then you got yourself options versus selling the low now. And then what can you bring back? I doubt you're getting anyone that would be close to Giannis in the summer. So I would hold and not sell on Trae Young if I'm the Hawks.
And on the flip side, since you transitioned so nicely to Giannis, if you're the Bucks, to me, like, I don't see a Giannis package that is viable right now that I can call a GM and they won't hang up on me and build any sort of a future with in the near future, right? Because the Knicks were opened up as the heavy favorites to trade for Giannis if the trade does happen. To me, like, the instant reaction to that was, as a Heat fan who's like wanted the Heat to make the big move for Giannis for a long time, like, my reaction to that was like, I'm not moved. They can go trade for Giannis if they want, solely because it would cost so much that the Knicks roster would not be any better off than the situation Giannis was in with the Bucks, right? You brought up the Hawks, and it's one that I really hadn't even considered much of, because in my mind, I was like, the real threat is the Spurs, right? Because they have the assets. They would be a contender if they make that mega move for Giannis, right? They wouldn't be losing so much that they would fall out of contention. So I haven't really thought about that. So if you're with if you're on the Bucks side, and again, like, we don't know as much about what's going on in that locker room as Giannis and the Bucks do, but what could you possibly do with Giannis?
Those are my only two options. To me, it's San Antonio and it's Atlanta. And it's Atlanta, and I'm getting back Trae Young, which is a guy who I can sell to the fan base as an all-star, and I get that Pelicans unprotected. And yeah, they went on a little run lately. They're still going to land in the top 10. So I get a top 10 pick in a very deep draft. I get Trae Young. They probably throw in Reese Shea, and I'm like, hey, I got another first-round pick, first overall, blah, blah, blah. And maybe a couple other picks. But that would be a package I consider. From what I heard, from what I saw online, the San Antonio Spurs don't want to part with Castle or Harper. Then you're not getting Giannis. So, and I don't blame them for doing it. I don't think that's the wrong mindset. But if Castle and Harper are off the table, Milwaukee there's no phone to pick up. So I pretty much got the Hawks. That's your market. Unless maybe Houston, if they're willing to let go of Jabari Smith and Şengün, then you got Durant, Giannis, and Tari Eason and Reed Shepherd. So, like, Houston could put a package together. I really think it's Atlanta and San Antonio has to say Harper or Castle's on the table.
I'm such a big fan of Jabari Smith. Like, to me, like, the idea of Giannis, like, I feel like Colin Cowherd, where he says, like, hey, Ben Simmons, we're good. I feel like Colin Cowherd saying, hey, Giannis, we're good. Jabari Smith is here. When in reality, the Rockets literally just need Fred VanVleet to acquire a new ACL, and they'll be fine.
I would take a shot at Jabari Smith, who's been when I was at that Rockets game, he was glued to Kevin Durant in warmups. Every move Kevin Durant did, pull up, free throw line jumper, he was doing everything, and it was it was cool. It was mimicking his game, and it looked, there was resemblances there. Obviously, Brandon Ingram's a comparison. Jabari Smith, if he can get the ball handling down, I think it could be that. So it was cool to see that. He's a piece, someone I would go after if I was a team where, like, I would do LaMelo Ball for Jabari Smith. Like, but that would be, hey, Charlotte, Houston needs a point guard. So, like, LaMelo Ball, Jabari Smith, that's a discussion worth having.
As someone with the Rockets, over on futures, let's not do that right now. Also, shout out to friend of the program, Tari Eason. I know for a fact that I won't go further into this, but Tari Eason is a friend of Ball Institute, and shout out to him because he scored 16 points on 90% true shooting in his return from 14 games from an oblique injury. Defended pretty well, and I wanted to just put this out there because people have been talking to me about Tari Eason making a quote unquote bad play on the Dennis Schroeder game winner because he left Schroeder guarding him. DeMar DeRozan traveled on that game winner, but a lot of travel is on every team. Don't get wrong. So
the best players, the best teams.
Yeah, so you come at me for that Tari Eason play, I come at you with the travel. So
No, I like Tari Eason a lot. I'm a big fan.
Speaking of players we're a big fan of, what Khalil Ware has been doing this season, the highs, the lows, he is the most frustrating Heat player since Hassan Whiteside, solely because the talent. I mean, he's more talented than Hassan Whiteside ever was because the three ball is insane. He's hit, I believe, 16 threes over his last 3 games, somewhere around that mark, on extreme efficiency. That efficiency, obviously not sustainable, even if teams continue leaving him wide open as they are every single game. But if you think about like the context of the Miami Heat right now, there's no reason teams should start guarding Khalil Ware any differently. They still have to worry about Bam Adebayo, and Bam's had a rough couple of games, but much of that is due to how he is being guarded. He still gets the respect of being a multi-time All-Star. If once Tyler Hero gets back, he's going to get the respect of getting the best perimeter defender on the team, and Khalil Ware is going to continue getting the benefit of a lot of soft matchups as long as Bam and Tyler Hero are together. And Norm Powell, by the way, also drawing some of the best defenders in the league these days, right? The highs are incredible.
I'm looking at the highs right now. I'm actually blown away. I'm sorry, keep going. Do you know he hit 6 threes in a game? Khalil Ware hit 6 threes in a game this year?
If I didn't see it with my own 2 eyes, I would say it's Basketball Reference got hacked. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. And then I saw, the Knicks game. I thought I was seeing a dream because not only did Bam Adebayo throw the worst pass in Miami Heat history, but Khalil Ware was also outplaying both bigs on the Knicks, right? So to me, like the last 3 games of Khalil Ware show you how talented he is, and I feel like once every few months, both years in his NBA career, I see a viral tweet that goes, "Motherfucker, this is Wemby." And like he plays like a healthy Victor Wembanyama for a span of a week. And then we see the lows, which is he loses track of who he has on defense. He's a 7-footer that can't box out. And all the lows come, right? And within Miami Heat, within Miami Heat Nation, like I don't know how far, the depths of Heat Twitter get out to the non-Heat fans, but there's a running joke that Khalil Ware and Eric Spoelstra, like Eric Spoelstra's divorce was caused by Khalil Ware, because if you listen to every Eric Spoelstra press conference where he addresses Khalil Ware this season, you would not be able to tell the difference between a good Khalil Ware and a bad Khalil Ware game because Spo refuses to give this man credit for anything. The last game was the closest he ever came a couple of days ago, where he absolutely tore up the Knicks. He was the sole reason the Knicks almost upset the Heat. And they literally asked him to praise Khalil Ware after the game. And he said, yes, he's improving, but there's going to be moments like where he fell asleep and allowed a Josh Hart cut. So his response to Khalil Ware playing out of his mind for 3 straight games was that he still needs to figure some things out. So to me, like what that means, and I've been yapping, but like the 2 conclusions I have from this is, one, like Khalil Ware has the price has never been higher than right now on December 23rd, 2025. If there were to be a superstar trade, I'm okay with including Khalil Ware. 2, like I just think Khalil Ware has like a focus / like arrogance issue, because I have never seen Eric Spoelstra behave like this. Since I haven't seen Eric Spoelstra behave like this about a player, how hard he is on a player, since Hassan Whiteside used to get benched despite him being an All-Star that year. So what are we doing with Khalil Ware? What's your view on this, since you are not in the depths of Heat Twitter?
I'm not in the depths of Heat Twitter. I did see Jeff Teague and Club 520 talk about it. I think it was yesterday or the day before. I think it was yesterday. This is when you trade him. If you sell high, someone will buy, someone can sell to their management. Hey, this is the next Victor Wembanyama, and I got him. I would sell. Is it for Giannis? I don't know. But there's a couple guys like this at the deadline where if the teams play their cards right and you sell high based on, and it's you know what he is in the building, you can really flip your team. So Kel'el Ware is one of them. The other one that I have written down that's similar to Kel'el Ware, Zion. If I'm the Pelicans, it's a good. This is I wanted to talk about the Pelicans, but Kel'el Ware, does he go to Milwaukee? Does he be in the Bucks trade? Maybe. I still think the Atlanta package is more attractive, but I would definitely entertain that. You probably got to throw in here, like so. If you question you, if they do the Giannis trade, right, and it's Kel'el Ware, you think Hero or Bam is on the table, or you think it's just Kel'el Ware and unprotected?
I mean, first of all, I know for a fact that Bam Adebayo is untouchable. He's not going anywhere. I really hope Tyler Hero is untouchable. If you know Giannis, no matter who's involved, like my take on Giannis on the Heat is that we're still not the best team in the East if you trade away Tyler Hero and Kel'el Ware for Giannis, because I know Eric Spoelstra is great. I know the development team is great, but at the end of the day, it's the modern NBA, right? You're going up against the Sheas, the Jokic's, even Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler's in the playoffs sometimes, right? Like, you need the multiple superstar build on a roster to win in the playoffs. Like, that's just the truth about the modern NBA. There's super teams you have to face. Like, if you don't find a way to get Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, and Giannis all together, you're not the best team in the East anyway, right? So my take on it is, if you're going to have to give up Hero I'm not even discussing Bam, he's untouchable, but if you're going to have to give up Hero on the Giannis trade, there's no edge doing this, because a roster that has Davion Mitchell as the only serious playmaking guard on the team, and then Bam and Giannis, like, how are you better than the Bucks were, right? So to me, like, you can't make I know people don't like Hero because of whatever reason. I'm it's not my bias that I don't want to trade Tyler Hero. I would trade Tyler Hero for Giannis straight up in a vacuum, sure, but that still doesn't make the Heat the best team in the East. So Kel'el Ware, I'd sell high. Going back to the original topic, I'm fine with saying bye-bye to Kel'el Ware. I'm fine with, if there's a drastic change at the trade deadline and the Heat kind of punt on going all in this season, which realistically maybe they should. I'm fine with Norm Powell leaving in a trade deadline deal, because this is a 32-year-old with multiple injuries who is having the best season of his career, right? I'm fine with both of these. Tyler Hero cannot leave this team right now the way it's constructed with the state of the NBA right now. You need the trio of superstars, or the duo of superstars and the third star, so to speak. And Tyler Hero has to be that third star for the Heat. So that's my take on it.
Sure. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if Giannis even gets moved. I was listening to what's his name? Windhorst on Ryan Russillo's podcast this week. And he was pretty much saying, he's like, the last time they had a player of Giannis's caliber was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. They traded him. They regretted it ever since. And it took them 40 years to get another player that could be, top 3 player in the league. They're going to do everything they can to keep him. And maybe they say, Zach LaVine's on the table. Do I think Zach LaVine changes anything? No, not at all. But they will exhaust every resource to not let that guy walk out the door, because he's probably not coming back. Now, if you get the Pelicans unprotected, maybe you luck out and get that guy. Maybe you get, the 3rd pick in the draft. Then you can get you can get Boozer's kid. But I'd be very shocked if they actually ended up trading him this season. One guy I do want to talk about was Zion Williamson, and we've seen what the Pelicans have been doing. They've won 5 straight games. It's against Portland, Chicago, Indy, and Dallas. I kind of like Dallas, but Indy isn't impressive. Chicago's not impressive. Portland's not impressive. They did beat Houston in overtime. That was impressive. But Zion has played 4 straight. And last 2 games, 24-3-9, 29-7. He's been in your building for the last 4 years. If you can string together, go on a run with some wins, have Zion look like your guy, you think you could sell him at his highest and then go, we got Derek Queen, we got Jeremiah Fears, Sadiq Bey's playing awesome, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. Maybe we move Herb Jones. There's a opportunity to pivot for the New Orleans Pelicans in the next 6 weeks. and maybe you move Herb to LA, and maybe you move Zion for God knows what. But you got Queen and you got Fears. You have and Trey Murphy. You got three guys where you think you have something for the next couple of years. You know what Zion is at this point. He's not magically going to turn into Cinderella from a pumpkin. Get rid of him. Pumpkin visual, but no, I would get rid of him. I just don't know what exists.
The Zion, the Zion situation is sad, mostly because like I was very convinced a couple of years ago that the Pelicans were going to be the next like Phoenix Suns of 2021 because I was always such a big fan of Trey Murphy. I mean, there's a tweet from the NBA draft night, the night that Trey Murphy is drafted, that he's the steal of the draft, potentially still the right take. I big fan of Herb Jones. I honestly did not think Jordan Poole would actually fit nicely with this team, which he actually has so far this season. I have a lot of Jordan Poole fans in my circle, and them, making me admit that he's playing well so far this season. I have no problems doing that, right? And to me, like Zion, watching Zion at Duke as a Duke fan, it was a spiritual experience, so to speak, right? And to me, the Pelicans have a lot of pieces where combined, you think it can work, and they can make, you mentioned Cinderella, so they can make a Cinderella run to a play-in even. But at the end of the day, that's it, right? They don't have the defense, they don't have the depth, and they don't have enough assets where it seems like they're headed any which direction, similar to what the Thunder have been doing, right? If there's a team that is like that, it's the Spurs with all their assets, stuff like that. The Pelicans are in no conversation to have an identity. So I don't see Zion getting moved this season, mostly because the teams that could possibly benefit right now trading for him, none of them are going to win the championship, right? None of the championship teams, could you name a team that could benefit with a workable Zion trade? That's my issue.
I have one that I just came up with now, and I'm sure you'll laugh me off the podcast with it. If the Warriors put together Kuminga and Podziemski and got back Zion, if I'm the Pelicans, my backcourt's Podziemski and Fears. I got Derek Queen, Jonathan Kuminga, and Trey Murphy. I probably push Herb Jones somewhere, whatever. But and maybe I get a pick back because I'm already losing a pick. So if you give me one of the Warriors firsts and you give me Kuminga and Podziemski, I would like that if I'm the Pelicans. And then on the Warriors side of things, I got a guy to hand off the team to from Steph Curry. He can play in transition. He can play off of Curry. Is Draymond included in the trade? I don't know. They probably never trade Draymond. There's probably no trade clause from Steph there, but I think that one could be sold. You could sell me on Steph, Zion, and Jimmy Butler in a play-in or a 5 seed with Steve Kerr. And then for the Pelicans, I get young point guard. I get young, wing that I don't really know what he could be because he only played next to Steph Curry his whole career, which should be easy, but maybe that's not his path. Does that sound that crazy?
The only crazy part about what you said is that you suggested a trade where Draymond and Jordan Poole would be teammates again. But other than that, I think that's reasonable. And I definitely, if I'm a Warriors fan, I definitely like that because I genuinely think if you get Zion, Steph Curry, and Jimmy Butler all in a team for a playoff run, and they're all healthy, that could make some random noise in the playoffs.
And then Pelicans, I have my commitment. I have my, I have my young squad, and I have a couple pieces with some high upside, and it fits around my Queen and Fears, and Trey Murphy. So,
you know what doesn't have high upside? Anything that the Sacramento Kings do.
It's going to be a fire sale in a couple weeks, but this has been a long time coming. I mean, eventually, them and the Bulls just passed trash to each other for a couple years, and now the chickens are coming home to roost. So I'd be shocked. We should play a game of who's left standing. Who's going to be in 8 weeks from now? Which king will be left standing? LaVine, Sabonis, DeRozan, Keon Ellis will probably be gone. We talked about him. I mean, they're going to have Schroeder and Russ. Oh, Malik Monk, he's probably he has some value. They're going to strip that team. Like when people used to like rob houses, when people would move out of the house and it was foreclosed, they strip it of copper. That's what the Kings are going to look like in 8 weeks.
Dude, Russell Westbrook is going to be all alone in Sacramento, playing with Maxime right now, Nick Clifford, and Precious Achiuwa, and he's going to be minus money to have a triple-double by the end of the season.
And you know what? That's the farewell tour for Russ I want to see. Let him just go apeshit from February to April, wave, and like do some crazy run, go on like, 10, 15 straight triple-doubles, end your career, go off into the sunset in Sacramento. That would be awesome.
Russell Westbrook is like diving into the stands to save loose balls for a 14 seed team on a random Tuesday night. Made me gain so much respect for him as a human being.
The day he hangs it up, I'll be very sad, but I will be watching in my living room and be like, this is the last game Russell Westbrook played, and I'll stand up. Because he was that. He cares. And his MVP, we could say whatever we want about it. It was some stat padding. Wasn't as impressive as other seasons, but I like him. Guy's got heart. Can't knock him.
Bobby, before we close the show, any observations as we close December?
I did a good amount of OKC bashing in the last episode. Bashing may be strong, but I gave the impression that I'm hating on them or I'm not appreciative. I'm very appreciative. They're far and away the best team in the NBA. Yes, I know they lost in the NBA Cup and they lost into the Timberwolves, but I was watching them last night against the Grizzlies, and I just kept noticing the turnovers. And then after about 5 minutes, one of the announcers said something like points per game off of turnovers. They were like 23. They lead the league. They've led the league the last 3 seasons. And I'm thinking how good of an indicator this is of a team defensively. So points per game off of turnovers. The 24-25 Thunder averaged more points off of turnovers in the playoffs than any other team since tracking the stat in 96. So my eyes didn't deceive me. This looked freakish, what they were doing last night, and it got me going. They averaged 25 points per game in the playoffs just off of turnovers. Every guy on that team knows obviously where to be, but like the defensive assignments, the intensity, poking for balls, even on the entry pass, like defending the entry pass, just denying that, it threw me through a loop. So the next largest number was the 06-07 Warriors. They averaged 24.1 points per game in the playoffs off of turnovers. But the stat itself and then how good Oklahoma City is in points per game off turnovers it caught me off guard because I was at every other play. It felt like they were stripping the ball in the post, defending a shot, like I said, denying the entry pass. It was just a level of intensity. And it was the front end of a double-double. It was the front end of a back-to-back. They're playing again tonight. And they had that level of intensity. But that's kind of how the bench guys buy in. So it stood out to me. They are that damn good. And I would love to get rankings of points per game off turnovers for like the last 30 years just to see where this ranks. It has to be up there.
I feel like we say this about both football and basketball. Turnovers aren't the most sustainable thing, in the sport. And if you can generate turnovers at a high rate in one game, most likely you're not going to generate anywhere near that the next game, and so on and so forth. OKC might be the first team in my lifetime where, like, if they don't lead the league in a 1 week span in turnovers forced, like, it's a disappointment because like their roster is so versatile. Like, it's hard to dribble around them. It's hard to pass against them. It's hard to drive against them because there's multiple active hands coming at you trying to strip the ball. Even the games where OKC doesn't shoot well, they're expected to win. Even the games where OKC doesn't actually convert those turnovers into points, like you said, like even if they go on a cold streak, actually converting in transition, they're expected to win. This is one of the best rosters in American pro sports in my lifetime. You can make an argument if they do win the championship this year that they are the best NBA team since the Bulls, in their era. to me, like, the only route to OKC losing a playoff series is injury. And like, I feel like the sum up of this is, shout out, fellow basketball YouTuber Jay Jones. He did some trivia with Shea for the NBA channel. I think it was a few months ago, and he just asked him, like, who's the best defender on OKC? And Shea said, it kind of depends what you want. And that's like the craziest flex, because he's like, if you want someone to guard someone, way bigger, and if you want to run a small ball lineup, have someone, be versatile and guard someone big, J-Dub can play the 5. Like, he's so strong and so skilled at guarding 5s. He can guard the Jokic's of the world and stuff. If you want someone to be a disruptor in the passing lanes, you got Alex Caruso. He's one of the best in the league at it. If you want someone to guard full court and cause deflections, on ball, Cason Wallace. And if you want someone to just flat out lock up or like minimize the best player on the other team on the perimeter, you have Lou Dort. And oh, by the way, like, Chet and Hartenstein are the best rim protection duo in the league. And oh, by the way, I'm Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, he didn't say this, but I'm saying I'm Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, I lead the league in steals. Like, I'm so cool, right? So, like, this OKC defense is not normal. And if someone were to beat them in a playoff series with OKC healthy, it would take probably a historically good 7-game series of shooting and not turning it over. So I don't know what to do about this OKC team for the next few years.
No, you can make the case they definitely have 2 first-team All-NBA defenders, and they probably have a second. And then you can take your pick, whether it's Caruso, Dort, or Cason Wallace. And one of the things you left out on Caruso, he was the guy guarding Jokic in the playoffs last year. He was the guy guarding Wembanyama in the NBA Cup. He just gets up underneath these big dudes and makes it very uncomfortable for him. So it's pretty crazy to see how good they are defensively. And I would really love to see how they match up against some of the other best defensive teams of all time. I'd have to think it's up there. So last week I tore them down. This week I wanted to give them their flowers. Yes, it was them beating the Grizzlies last night, but it still it stood out to me. It looked like a high school team playing against an NBA team.
And when a team wins a championship, people try to replicate what they do, right? When the Warriors won the championship for the first time in this era, like, people tried to replicate the shooting and the off-ball motion, like the screening that the Warriors do. People are going to try to replicate what the Thunder did with the process of acquiring all those assets. People also try, from the basketball standpoint, to replicate what they do in terms of, like, finding guys with, like, crazy athleticism and finding guys that have the on-ball defensive skill, and then, like, later teaching them how to shoot, right? Which is kind of what they did with Cason Wallace, kind of what they did with Caruso, because he wasn't the most consistent three-point shooter until he got to OKC, right? So people are going to try to replicate it. It's going to fall on its face most of the time. So it's good to appreciate greatness once in a while.
Yep, totally agree, man.
Bobby, good show today. There are so many NBA games to get to, so we're going to end the stream on this note. We're going to end the show on this note. I'm going to stay on stream, talk about the rest of the games. If you want to follow Bobby's work for Ball Institute for the remainder of December, go check out Ball Institute Discord. Yeah, we have an NBA blog channel. We're probably putting observations every Friday. But until next time, we'll see you for episode 8 for the last time in 2025 for Above the Break.